So one of the key problems in Yu-Gi-Oh that a lot of people have made videos about it, hell, I even made a video about it like a year and a half ago, is the bloated card text. And the cards are smaller than other card games, so it makes it even harder to read. So one of the key ways to reduce that card text that many people bring up is creating keywords, similar to Magic the Gathering, Lorcana, and many more card games. Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have a lot of keywords in the game. There's only a few such as Piercing, Banish, and Excavate. The main problem with Yu-Gi-Oh is that it has a lot of specific effects, so it makes it hard to generalize an effect to every monster with similar effects. But then I thought about archetype specific effects. A lot of archetypes have effects that are printed on every monster. So today the goal is to create keywords that replace actions of monsters in a specific archetype. Archetype monsters often have the same effect on them, so if you replace it with a keyword, it will remove a lot of text on them. It would be beneficial to have a reminder text in one of the monsters in the archetype. That being said, I am well aware that the problem with this approach is that there will be way too many keywords in the game. Too many keywords is annoying for anyone seeing the game for the first time, having to learn the actual effect of the card. But this is just a fun attempt at reducing card text while maintaining the archetype's theme and effect in mind, with a fun flavor keyword text. So without further ado, let's start with some older archetypes. Starting off with Crystal Beasts. So as we all know, every Crystal Beast monster has this effect. If this face-up card is destroyed in a monster zone, you can place it face-up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell instead of sending it to the graveyard. This effect could be reduced to the keyword crystallizing. Just like in the anime, this keyword will represent the Crystal Beast crystallizing in the spell and trap zone after being destroyed by battle. Of course, a reminder text would have to be put on one of those monsters. So I would put it on Ruby Carbuncle, since it is a prominent spirit partner for Jesse or Johan in the sub. The keyword can also be used for the advanced Crystal Beast, so it's kind of like a 2-for-1. That being said, we can already see the difference when it only has the keyword instead of the entire effect. For the next one, we have an iconic competitive archetype, one of the oldest archetypes too, Gladiator Beasts. So as we all know, Gladiator Beasts have two kinds of effects that are printed in almost every single monster. The first one being, if, or when, for some reason, this card was special summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, then it proceeds to go into a specific effect. And then there's the second one. At the end of the battle phase, if this card attacked or was attacked, you can shuffle it into the deck, special summon one Gladiator Beast monster from your deck, except the Gladiator Beast used for the effect. Basically, you would need to say its own name or something like that. Now the first effect, you can reduce that with the keyword tagged in, Gladiator tag in, or something of the sorts. And the second effect, you can say tagged out, or Gladiator tag out. And here we can look at the difference it makes. It feels much cleaner. But of course, one of them has to have the reminder text. And I feel it would be suited for Gladiator Beast Bestiary. Next up, we have an archetype which its conditions to activate their effects are pretty much the same but worded pretty differently. And I feel this could actually complicate things. So we have the Infinities. Infinities are known to be played without cards in your hand. So the keyword for this would basically be handless. So handless and then the effect. However, it is worded differently on different Infinity monsters. Some of them say you must have no cards in your hand to activate and to resolve this effect, or while you have no cards in your hand, or if you have no cards in your hand. So as you can see, they have the same basic idea of you being handless, but since it is worded differently, it would probably have some ruling issues. Like I've said before, Yu-Gi-Oh is very specific with its effects, so even a slight change in the wording or a slight change with the same basic idea could have different consequences and resolve very differently. But now that I think about it, handless could basically be a keyword for anything that necessitates you having 0 cards in your hand. So if we want to be archetype specific for Infinities, maybe we could use inspiration from the trap card they have, Phantom Hand. Now let's move on to more recent archetypes. One of the first archetypes that came in mind was Rocket Monsters, since it is from the anime. And with this archetype, 2 keywords are technically possible. The first one would be something like triggering bullet. Or if you want to keep it child-friendly, maybe triggering borrow or triggering rocket. Something that emphasizes pulling the trigger. Oh, maybe pulling the borrow or something like that. In any case, this keyword would encompass the effect of when a link monster's effect is activated that target this face-up card on the field, quick effect, and then it proceeds to the actual effect. This pretty much represents shooting the rocket monsters, just like in the anime. And then the second keyword I had in mind was reloading rockets. And just like the keyword implies, it would include the effect of during the end phase if this card is in the graveyard because it was destroyed on the field by battle or card effect and sent there this turn, you can special summon one rocket monster from your deck, except the card itself, right? And this is very literal. You're reloading your bullets to shoot again with the rocket monsters. So now let's take Magna Rocket Dragon, for example. Instead of the actual effect it has right now, it could read something like this. Triggering Borrow. You can destroy this card and send one monster on the field to the graveyard. And then, reloading Rocket. You can only use each effect of Magna Rocket Dragon once per turn. This removes a lot of text on this card, and it pretty much reveals the only unique effect it has, which is kinda crazy if you think about it. But as you can see, it can be quite efficient to reduce the card text into a single keyword that is specific to the archetype. Because if you already know the keyword and the effect of the keyword, you can kinda already understand how the archetype works. No need to reread the same effect on every single monster. Now let's continue. I have a few more of these I want to share. For example, with Kashtira, they have a lot of special summoning effect from the hand, so I guess you can say they're like invading the board if you have no monsters on the field. So the keyword for this would be invasion. But Kashtira does have a lot of unique effects specific to every monster, so only the first line would be reduced to a single keyword. And it does play with the fact that they are planetary invaders. Next up we have Tearlaments. The main Tearlament monsters all have the same kind of effect when they're sent to the graveyard, right? You can fusion summon when they're sent to the graveyard by a card effect, and are also placed back to the bottom of your deck in any order. So the keyword for this would be something like Teary Fusion, since it is specific to this archetype. Maybe not the most creative name. However, let's take for example Tearlament Halfness. We will have its first effect and then Teary Fusion. You can only use each effect of Tearlament Halfness once per turn, resulting of having its unique effect and then the common effect at the bottom, plus the restriction of a heart once per turn, which could also have its own keyword in some way. I've talked about this in my older video, but we can put like in hard once per turn, HOPT or something like that. Hard once per turns have become very common in Yu-Gi-Oh card effects, so having a keyword to define that would greatly reduce the card text bloat. So you know, get on that, Konami. Next we have Exo Sisters. A lot of the Exo Sisters monsters have this effect in common. If your opponent moves a card out of either graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon from your extra deck one Exo Sister Xyz monster using this face-up card you control as material. This is treated as an Xyz summon. This whole effect can be reduced to the keyword Exo Sister Emergency or Exo Sister Exorcise, something that invokes the fact that they are pretty much nuns transforming into exorcists and trying to keep you from playing with the spirits in the graveyard. The only exception for this is Exo Sister Marta, which includes both players in its effect. That would mean that every other Exo Sister would have the keyword of the Exo Sister Emergency, but Marta would keep its own effect printed out as it is. And now if we put the keyword in the text box, it would look something like this. It shows that almost half of the text is gone, which is pretty good. For the final archetype I want to create a keyword for it would be the Danger archetype. They all have a similar effect with some slight difference because it specifically names the card's name in the effect. For example, Danger Bigfoot specifies Danger Bigfoot in its card text, but every single Danger monster specifies its own name. So I've thought of the keyword Sightings. since it is about cryptids being seen in the wild and then they go back to hiding. And this keyword would include the effect of you can reveal this card in your hand, your opponent randomly chooses one card from your entire hand, then you discard the chosen card. Then, if the discarded card was not its own name, like I've said, it specifies each danger monster in its own card text. So, special summon one its own name from your hand, and if you do, draw one card. The only specificity in the effect is the own card name, but you can reduce the entire effect to a single keyword, to be honest. Just need to put the reminder text in one of the monsters. Even the second effect is very similar to every danger monster, however I feel like it has enough differences that it should be kept this way. And then of course there is the heart once per turn. So if we take Bigfoot for example, we would have sightings, then if this card is discarded, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, destroy it, and then the heart once per turn. Before wrapping things up, I do want to talk about specific effects from type or abilities, such as the illusion type monsters and the Gemini monsters. The illusion monsters when first released had this effect: if this card battles a monster, neither monster can be destroyed by that battle. And I feel like if every illusion monster has that effect, then it could be reduced to a single keyword. It could have something like Mirage or Illusion Battle, just something to reduce a little bit of the card text. Not all of the illusion monsters have them, but the ones that do could benefit from it. And now we have Gemini monsters, and I don't know why they kept the whole block of text. For example, tumor monsters don't have a block of text saying that this card can be used as a synchro material, so I feel like at this point Gemini monsters can just be treated as a Gemini monster and like remove the whole block of text saying they're treated as a normal monster. It should be a given at this point. I don't know if you guys agree, but I'm definitely tired of seeing a block of text on every Gemini monsters, if they even print some more. Alright, so that's it for today. Let me know if you agree with this type of keywording archetypes instead of generic effects. It definitely shows that a lot of archetypes have monsters with pretty much the same effect printed on them. So having one monster that takes the bullet for the rest of the monsters and having the reminder text on them would be beneficial for every other card in the archetype. And it makes it way easier to read the unique effect that each monster has on their text. Now let me know in the comments if you agree with some of the keywords I made, or if you have even better ideas. And also, what other archetypes could benefit from this type of keywording. In any case, this was pretty fun to make, and maybe I'll make another one? Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time.